He looked into his victim's eyes and said, "Repeat after me. I'm the devil's child." He believed the devil was talking to him. And when the police arrived sometimes later, the killer's van was gone, but they found a pool of blood on the ground, 2 mobile phones, and 2 blood-stained knives. Welcome to the Paranormal Post. On this channel, we cover unexplained mysteries, paranormal research that will expand your consciousness, and stories that will make you cover your face with blankets at night. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, then please subscribe. We publish twice a week like clockwork on this channel. I'm Clayton Morris. The world is full of chilling events, but perhaps satanic cults or the events that take place around Satanism take the cake. I visited certain towns that were ravaged by the satanic panic in the late 1980s in New Jersey specifically. This is real, and it had the Catholic Church on high alert for how to deal with this. In fact, the Catholic Church at the time didn't even want to tell people about certain funerals for fear that a satanic cult would arrive in those towns. True. Frightening rituals of sacrifice occurred. I've interviewed law enforcement officials who told me stories that would make your hair stand on end. Crime scenes they told me about of absolute brutality, particularly the murder of Betty Ann Sullivan. Perhaps I'll do a full video on that horrible story soon. But now, stories of murder because of the devil made me do it are back in the headlines. New killings associated with Satanism happening in the year 2022. This isn't the 1980s. It's happening now. Now, if you don't know what Satanism is, it's simply the worship of the devil, and murdering of humans or animals as sacrifice are all too common associated with this practice. Those who practice this will say, "No, it's peaceful. Don't worry about it." I beg to differ. It's nothing short of a nightmare, and encountering a satanic cult can sometimes be the worst and the last mistake that someone could make. So without further ado, let's get into today's story. Today's video is about Brian Sengendo, who believed that Satan himself spoke to him and asked him to take someone's life. Sengendo was a 26-year-old delivery driver who owned a white van. He used this van as bait to lure his victims, who were sex workers. And unfortunately, this van would be the last thing that Teresa Gordon saw. Sengendo had been a devil worshiper for a long time before his 4-hour crime spree that night. At the time of his arrest, he was carrying a collection of tarot cards, which is bizarre because tarot cards are cards of peace. Sengendo met his first victim near a gas station in Edmonton around 9:40 p.m. on August 3rd, 2020. He then threatened her with a knife, but she managed to escape by jumping from his moving van, and she escaped without injury. His second victim got into the van just before midnight. He proceeded to attack her and then stabbed her several times while she was struggling to escape. She was also very lucky that her stab wounds to her face, neck, and shoulders did not prove fatal. She also managed to escape. Now, according to the survivor, Sengendo told her, "I'm going to rape you, and I'm going to enjoy raping you, and you will do what I say or I will kill you," he said. She tried to alert people about this killer on the loose, saying, "I've been stabbed. Can someone please help me?" She even found a police officer and told him, "I'm a prostitute and my client stabbed me," then threw my mobile phone in the bushes. Someone who lives near New Park Avenue in Edmonton actually heard the cry for help and was the one who made the call to the police around 1 a.m. to report an assault in the alleyway behind his house. He said in court that he heard a woman cry out for help and saw a young man striking something inside of a parked van. That something was a woman he was striking. When the police arrived sometime later, the van was gone, of course, but they found a pool of blood on the ground, 2 mobile phones, and 2 blood-stained knives. His third and last victim was Teresa Gordon. He attacked her inside the van, but she wasn't as lucky as the other 2. 2 days later, a woman who was out for a morning walk saw something hidden close to a tunnel beneath the M25 highway, but she didn't think much of it. She thought it was a life-size doll or some kind of a mannequin. However, it wasn't until a cyclist passed by the body who noticed that it was human. In fact, the body had been stabbed 18 times and bruised all over due to multiple hits. Remember the phones I told you that the police found earlier? Well, one of them was Ms. Gordon's, and upon finding the phone but not the owner, the police circulated her details as a high-risk missing person. The second phone, which seemed to be Brian's, had a video that showed himself forcing one of his victims to perform a sex act as well. And then he made a Google search for "dead girl in Enfield," meaning that in between the first and second victim, He wasn't sure if his first victim survived, so he did a Google search to see if anyone reported a dead girl in Enfield, the site of his first attack. And then he Googled, how long does DNA last? Those searches were done in the days between the murder and the discovery of the body. A few days later, on the 7th of August, the police arrested Sengendu after finding his blood-soaked sneakers and tarot cards, along with his t-shirt, was found at the scene of Ms. Gordon's attack, as well as DNA that linked him directly to all 3 victims. Now, during the interrogation, Sengendu maintained his claim that he was innocent, and that a man by the name of KT, who he met through his work, was a delivery driver, must have taken his shirt and his spare keys in his van. It wasn't him, after all. But then, when he was confronted by the DNA found, he said that the devil made him do it. The killer was tried on Friday, 21st of January 2022, where he was found guilty of 2 counts of kidnap, rape, attempted murder, possession of an offensive weapon in a public place, making threats to kill, and of course, he was convicted of murder. Now, during the trial, Gordon's mother said that Sengendu not only took his daughter's life, he also forced the whole family to suffer day after day through the trial, even though he knew what he had done. She said, "I'm always thinking about what Teresa must have gone through when she died. One of the things that keeps going through my head," she said, "is the evidence that one of the witnesses could hear her groaning. I can't get that thought of her being in pain at his hands out of my head. This monster that just made her suffer." The judge describes Sengendu as a potential serial killer that would have had many other victims if he wasn't stopped that day. In many ways, he reminds me of the Night Stalker killer from California that went on a seemingly endless murdering rampage. Sengendu will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. If you like stories of the unexplained, stories that the mainstream media won't cover, then please subscribe to the channel. We publish stories twice a week here, and our team works very hard to bring you these videos. So you can smash that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.